The United States produces more wealth than any other nation on Earth, yet millions of its citizens quietly struggle to pay for basic necessities at the end of every month. For decades, the math of American life was straightforward. You acquire an education, secure a full-time job, and achieve a stable life. With this engine, you could project a timeline of homeownership, raising a family, and a secure retirement. Today, a worker can hold the degree, clock 40 hours a week, manage their money carefully, and still fall short of covering rent and groceries. Look at the housing market to see where the math breaks down. Across major metropolises and smaller suburbs, rent prices have surged to historic highs. This chart breaks down a typical urban renter's monthly budget. Over 50% of their total income is now frequently consumed entirely by housing costs alone. With the housing buffer gone, the steady inflation of daily necessities like groceries and utilities quickly erases whatever small cash margin remains. Education, once the reliable first half of the traditional formula, now acts as a massive financial anchor. Millions graduate carrying tens of thousands in student loans, restricting their adult financial freedom for decades. Then there are the medical expenses. Even for fully insured full-time workers, a single health emergency generates bills large enough to wipe out years of financial progress overnight. Because rent, groceries, education, and healthcare have all completely decoupled from average wages, basic existence has turned into a compounding mathematical deficit. To understand exactly when this equation stopped working, we have to look back to the late 20th century. This graph tracks economic markers since the late 1970s. The cost of living line tracks steadily, then angles sharply upward. Meanwhile, middle-class wage growth remained flat. The massive space opening between them is the affordability deficit, where full-time employment fails to cover basic survival. The struggle millions face today is the direct result of a decades-long structural imbalance. Physical supply bottlenecks act as an immediate multiplier on this deficit. When local markets fail to build enough housing to meet demand, the competition artificially inflates the price of whatever housing is available. Broad inflationary pressures then act as an invisible tax. As the raw materials required to produce and transport everyday goods increase in price, those costs are passed directly to the consumer, degrading the purchasing power of a stagnant paycheck. Simultaneously, shifting global supply chains and international labor markets place permanent downward pressure on domestic wages. With stagnant flag wages, severe housing bottlenecks, and persistent inflation operate together, creating a multi-system failure that is increasingly hostile to the average worker. This math carries a severe, invisible psychological toll on the younger generations trying to navigate it. Without the buffer of financial security, millions are actively delaying major life milestones. They stay in their childhood homes longer, postpone marriages, and put off having children. Many take on multiple jobs, transitioning from a day office desk to an evening retail counter and a weekend delivery vehicle, just to tread water. The collapse of the economic formula forces millions to sacrifice basic human experiences merely to survive the math. Will wages eventually rise to meet the cost of living, or is this declining affordability a permanent structural reality? Economic consensus suggests that without major systemic policy changes, the math of American life will only continue to exclude more people from stability. Declining affordability has transitioned from a temporary hurdle into an intractable, defining feature of the modern economy. The erosion of this equation has shifted the trajectory of an entire generation, replacing the pursuit of the American dream with a mandate for basic survival.